Hey guys, this is Jay Calder with JAYONBOXING here, giving you a preview and prediction for Natasha Jonas versus Lauren Price. But before we get started, please like, subscribe, share, all that good stuff, and be sure to leave your picks, your take down in the comments section below. I do greatly appreciate the support. Now, a little bit of fight info here. This is, as mentioned, Jonas versus Price in a unification bout, which will be taking place at the Royal Albert Hall in London, England, on Sky Sports in the UK and Peacock in the USA, in the welterweight division for the IBF and WBC belts held by Jonas, and the Ring Magazine and WBA belts held by Price on the line. Well, we got ourselves a very, very solid fight, a unification bout to be exact. Never a bad thing. On the one hand, we have one of the better underdog stories in the sport, Natasha Jonas. Multi-weight titleist, big following, been in some big fights too. On the other hand, you have a unified champion in her own right in Price, a gold medalist at the 2020 Games, titleist on the world stage, but maybe a bit understated as a fighter, but looking to make her name here with Jonas. Still, Natasha wants that final cherry on top of her career at the age of 40. She wants to go out with a bang. Beating Price is said bang. Does she have enough at this point to get it done? And will Price be too much for her? Or is Price simply going up against the best fighter she's ever faced and will have bitten off more than she can chew? Important questions. But before we get to those, let's look at some of the other big, interesting questions we have heading into this contest. For starters, will age catch up to Jonas? Now, I'm not trying to be an ageist at all, but she do be old. 40 in boxing is old. And with an extensive amateur career, not to mention all of her professional fights, yeah, she's definitely fought her share of contests. She's looked good in most of her recent fights, but she should have. She was the better fighter. When it was close with the younger Michaela Meyer, she didn't look quite as strong. Is it a skill thing or is it age? Maybe both. But if it shows up on the night with a highly skilled operator in Price, it's going to be a problem. I would also ask, how does Price handle the stage? Now, don't get me wrong, Price fought at the highest level as an amateur and is a champion as a professional in solid fights. She's used to bigger stages, don't get me wrong, but this is her biggest professional fight in terms of the difficulty, maybe what's on the line, the stage, the domestic element to the fight, and that they're both pretty big names on that side of the pond. It's all there. Jonas has been in this spot before. For Price, it's just slightly different. Now, I think she likely handles the situation well, but the question, until we know for sure, I think is a fair one. And finally, who will the judges favor? Jonas is that, as I mentioned, kind of underdog story that people love to get behind. You might think that that buys her a lot of favor with the viewing public and potentially some of the officials over in the United Kingdom. On the other hand, you have Price, who is that younger, more up-and-coming fighter from the UK, and she's certainly a commodity in her own right. You think that she might potentially get some favoritism as well. That being said, they have world-level boxing judges for this contest. You should hope that it's an even playing field for both. But you do have to question who might potentially get the nod in some of those closer frames and ultimately in a closer fight. Certainly something to keep in mind if this fight, which it might do, goes to the scorecards. Still, all that said, let's get into this pick and break this fight down. Now, starting off with Jonas, I think you want to rip the right hand. It's a shot you throw pretty well. You do it with some serious conviction. There's some weight behind it. And it's one that can hurt a southpaw. Price is a southpaw. It makes a lot of sense to try and line that shot up when you're winning that outside foot battle and really throw it with some bad intentions. It also, if landed often enough, can slow Price down and get her guard up. That's what I think you really want to do. You want her shielding a bit more, not moving and looking to land her own attack. This also helps you attack the body because it's going to open up that guard as mentioned. And I think you need to ensure you're attacking the body in this particular encounter. Again, it's another way to slow her down, and she is going to be tricky. She's very shifty on her feet, and at 40, I don't think you want to follow her around. But it's also just mixing up your work, being less predictable. And against someone as skilled as Price, you definitely want to vary your assault. Don't just keep it one-dimensional. This also, if you're getting inside and attacking the body, allows for you to smother her work. Of course, you're going to need to get inside to do so, and that's good, because I think you want to make sure that some of her cleaner work is getting just a bit messier. Price likes to hit and move, be tidy at times. She can be rough, but she likes her work neat. Make it messier at times, get in there, rip to the body, and then let your hands go. Don't make it such a calculated affair. I think in general, that's going to favor Price. And overall, this allows for you to apply more pressure, just mental pressure, physical pressure, and really allow for you to kind of force a more aggressive fight on her. You've been at a higher weight class before. You've certainly been in some wars yourself. You should have the ability, the gumption, to bite down on that gum shield and really put a fight on her. This, of course, can also allow for you to walk forward as opposed to backwards, which is, I believe, a much easier thing for an older fighter to do, which, again, I hate to harp on, but you do have to keep in mind. Price is faster and she can move. But if you're applying pressure and cutting off the ring, you at least limit some of that, because you certainly don't want to be fighting and boxing her from the outside with her skills and everything I've just mentioned. And of course, I'd say finish the rounds strong. In general, you're not going to be able to necessarily go for, 2 minutes at a time every single time in women's boxing as you get older. Once again, I promise I'm trying not to mention that too much, but you have to keep it in mind. At the very least, leave a lasting impression on the judges' minds by trying to get the last 20 to 30 seconds of the frame in your favor and really leaving that lasting impression. Now, switching over to Price, I think for Price, it's important you're going to want to use your movement. You got it. Use it. Use those angles, make her miss. It's going to tire her out, and it's going to allow for you to open up a lot more possibilities for yourself. Then you can make her pay when she's missing. And with the faster feet and faster hands, that should serve you well. You just want to make sure she's out of position while you're controlling and dictating the terms. One other way to do that, of course, is by keeping the jab steady. Well, you want to dig into your bag from time to time, and it's a pretty deep bag. You also want to keep it simple, and the jab is the simple but effective weapon for that. You use it well. It's a very educated jab that you can vary both in terms of speed and where you're placing it, and it can force Jonas back and not allow her to rush in and apply pressure that I think she's going to look for. It creates space for you to get some of that neater work you're looking to get done in this fight done. It also helps you set up the left. The left hand is an important hand for you, obviously. Naturally, it's your backhand shot. It's one that you want to get in there, but you also hook with the left as well. You're pretty solid with the left hook for a left-handed fighter, and as she's getting in closer, it's certainly a shot you can tag her with and really have some great effect. Actually, in general, I'd say work both of the check hooks. You can particularly use that left hook, sure. Whether you're circling away, you can land that shot really well, angle out and reset. But in fact, you hook with both hands pretty well, so while you're circling away, it makes all the sense, whether you're going to the left or the right, to use those hooks to kind of help create that extra bit of distance and score at the same time. Once you get the read on her, throw those hooks as she comes in and make her pay for that aggression as mentioned, score as mentioned, and ultimately begin hurting her with those shots that maybe she doesn't see coming. And this, of course, can tie into the combinations I think ultimately you want to get done. While you might want to focus on jabs and single defensive type hooks at times, combinations will be a must and will be your bread and butter. When your hands are letting go, you're at your best. That's when you really get going. You start getting into a rhythm, you start getting more confidence, you really grow into the fight, and will allow for you to finish this fight strong. And I do think you want to pour it on strong against Jonas, who, again, as an older fighter, might not necessarily have everything left in the tank by the 6th, 7th, 8th, 9th, 10th round. That's when you're really going to shine, by putting those punches together and making her feel her age. Now, in terms of my pick here, it feels like Price's time, so I'm going with Lauren in this one. I think she starts fast, using a jab and movement to frustrate Jonas, and she will score often, getting those hands going and letting herself build into the fight. Jonas, knowing she needs to make something happen, will walk into more shots, especially those hooks, and Price will begin busting her up in the middle frames. She might not drop Jonas, but I can see Price wearing the older fighter out in the latter frames and causing a halt to the action with sheer volume. Winner, Lauren Price via late fight stoppage. Now, in terms of the betting odds here, we have Jonas as a pretty sizable underdog coming in at a plus 270, with Price coming in as a minus 380 favorite. The over-under is set at 8.5, with the over at a minus 1,000 and the under at a plus 550. Personally, the money lines don't make a great deal of sense to me here. You can even find them wider for Jonas. If you find that and you believe in her, by all means take advantage of that. But as they are currently set the way I found them, I'm going with Price don't really like 4-1. It's relatively safe to me because I'm pretty confident in this bet, but there's still just too much risk, not enough value. You might find a bit more value in the over-under. As mentioned, I think Price might be able to wear Jonas out in this encounter. Does she do it before basically the final round? That's kind of the question here. The 7th, the 8th, I could see it happening, and at plus 550, that's a relatively solid risk that I might be willing to take. But in any event, those are your odds. And my prediction record as of this recording is 1-1 with one exact, but let me know your thoughts, your bets, your picks, all that good stuff down in the comments. And of course, check out the social media up top, check out JAYONBOXING.com, subscribe, and check out another video here. Until next time.